Be not afraid. It was so long ago, and just as well. As you get older, you learn to doubt. I was hardly more than a child, filled with the fervour of faith, warmed by the soft fires of first love, still sure that all things were possible. Looking back at that girl, I am consumed by jealousy for the glorious naivety of her swift ascent. I am beguiled by her faithful certainty. I am in awe of her prophetic gift. The years wear hard, even against those of us who have followed the way, those of us who have seen the impossible and witnessed God's laughter. But I recognise her. She is me, and I am her. I was at school when it happened. I was engaged. I swung between dreams of brilliance and future success, egged on by enthusiastic teachers and my mother's encouragement, and daydreams of Joseph, running his hands through my hair, kissing me and whispering words of escape and love. There was no real pressure to choose, and I revelled in both dreams. My friends were shocked and envious. My parents were, as parents are. They were there, not wholly approving, but willing to hope for the best. That afternoon I had played soccer, school team, away game, gossip on the bus, singing on the way home, celebrating a win against our closest rivals. It is hard to imagine a life that could ever have been so simple and uncomplicated. I had showered, sat at dinner with Mum and Dad, talking non-stop about my day, without once asking about theirs, and danced off to my room to finish an assignment for my history teacher. We had been studying pre-invasion government, a mildly risky area, but one that fired my imagination and indignation. Being young and female, it's probable that whatever I wrote would have been ignored, but I was aware that my teacher would be quizzed if news of any radicalism was reported by fellow staff. I chose my phrases carefully, convinced that I had constructed a subtle and searing exposé of our colonial overlords while remaining academically clinical and above board. I probably just vented again. I'd already had 3 essays given back to me in small pieces with a request to redraft them in a less polemic form. There had been no anger from my teacher, just fear. They'd said they'd grade the first draft, but file the second. I'd got A+ for all of them. I thought I was learning to restrain myself. I very much doubt that I was. Joseph had rung. He was working a job out of town, and we talked about what we'd do when he got back. Talking to him always calmed me. Then, when he rang off, I longed for him and couldn't concentrate. He never really changed over all the years we had together. Calm, wise, clear, honest, gentle, strong. Through the darkest days, he never lost faith in me or our boy. Even when fear got the better of me and I went to beg Jesus to come home, to stop, Joseph refused to be part of it. He just said, let him be. He's doing what he was born to do. People underestimate how much of Joseph there was in Jesus. They always talk about me because of the angel and because I gave birth to him and because I was there at the end when Joseph could not be. A good father, and Joseph was a good father, shapes his sons. I miss him today as I missed him that day when he hung up and I was left with my essay. I could not concentrate. I longed for Joseph and I was still a little high on post-match adrenaline. Then I reread my essay and felt a deep sense of pointlessness. Since the invasion, we had experienced all the humiliations of the conquered, but a sense of futility and purposelessness was now the overriding feeling in every town. The irony was abundantly clear. The country we had stolen had now been stolen from us. Our pathway to success were completely dependent on submission and assimilation. Our small rebellions could be fatal. I prayed. Prayer was always a safe place for me. Well, safe might not be the right word. It was a place I found both comfort and fire. My friends seemed to think that religion was nice or pointless, but I felt very differently. I always have. When I was a small child, I felt God's presence so strongly that my mother worried about me. She read me the stories and I believed them. I truly believed them. I expected God to reach into our world and I wanted to see miracles. In those days, I read the stories in which we threw off the shackles of the invaders and found a way to be truly God's people again. I waited impatiently for the Messiah, and I pictured myself in the conquering army. I was all for heroic dreams. That's what I wanted to write in my essay, that God would release us from our captivity, just as God had in the past. I was full of a passionate, raw love for God that matched what I felt for Joseph. I loved Joseph partly because he never laughed at my wild dreams. He even shared them in his quiet way. That night, I prayed for our country and for the whole world and for Joseph and for myself, for change and for direction and for hope, for anything that would lift the sense of brokenness and despair that covered everything about the way we were forced to live. I prayed for a miracle that would break open the world and let God in a way that we had never seen before. Greetings, favoured one. The Lord is with you. I spun around in my chair so fast that I knocked my Milo onto the floor. Mum called out, "Are you okay?" And they put a finger to their lips. "I'm fine," I called back, "just mucking around." That I could speak was the first miracle of the night. The angel smiled. I don't know if you've seen an angel. I really don't know how common it is, other than that I know both Joseph and I had our moments. If you have, you'll understand when I say that they genuinely take your breath away. Mine, well, not mine, no one owns an angel, but the one who came that night was beautiful. My heart leapt. I had never, and I have never, seen anything quite so outrageously beautiful. Androgynous. You want to fall in love with them, but there is something, it's difficult to describe, but something distant and untouchable about them. Something that draws you, but towards which you cannot move. Oh, but when they smile. Mine was smiling, and I made the terrible, wonderful mistake of looking into their eyes. I nearly drowned. I so very nearly lost myself. In their eyes are time and love and possibility and horror. All that they have seen remains whirling through them, and they have seen millennia. I dragged my eyes away. It almost hurt physically. No, it did hurt. Who are you? Are you God? The smile widened. No, just a messenger. Am I dead? Have you come to take me to heaven? The eyes softened. The angel sat on my bed and looked at me. Do not be afraid, Mary, for you have found favour with God, and now you will conceive in your womb and bear a son, and you will name him Jesus. He will be great, and will be called the Son of the Most High, and the Lord God will give to him the throne of his ancestor David. He will reign over the house of Jacob forever, and of his kingdom there will be no end. I was 15. There was a lot to take in. I felt tears leaking from my eyes. I started to shake uncontrollably. The angel rose and held me in their arms until I relaxed. I have never forgotten that embrace. Time ceased to matter. My mind cleared. The angel sat back on the bed and I sat next to them. A child, the Son of God. A kingdom? No end? I snapped back into myself. How can this be since I'm a virgin? It was out of my mouth before I could stop it. blunt. I was very blunt. But I felt a growing sense of outrage, a sense of awe, a growing sense of fear, a growing sense of hope, all at once. Nothing about it made any sense. I was a girl from a country town in the middle of nowhere. Nowhere important. There was a teenager. There was a virgin. I had an angel sitting on my bed. The Holy Spirit will come upon you, and the power of the Most High will overshadow you. Therefore the child to be born will be holy. He will be called the Son of God. And now your relative Elizabeth in her old age has also conceived a son, and this is the 6th month for her who was said to be barren, for nothing will be impossible with God. I laughed. Elizabeth pregnant. My favourite relative. I was so happy for her. And oddly, I never doubted that part of it for one moment. As for the rest, I was struggling. A holy child. Nothing will be impossible. Now I know that all those words were true. I have lived a long miracle. The adventure I had prayed for since that night. It has almost killed me. First with happiness, then with fear, then with sorrow, then with joy. Miracles can be a mixed bag. They should come with warning labels. Of course, I didn't understand all that had been said to me. Even now, I don't feel as if I fully understand. Understanding is sometimes overrated. There are times when we need to believe against the odds. What I do know is that when those words were spoken to me, I started to believe, and I have grown into that belief. I still believe. I reached for words, and words came to me. I said, "Here am I, the servant of the Lord. Let it be with me according to your word." I said, "Yes." I gave my assent, and the angels smiled again. They reached out and held my hand. I saw tears in their eyes, and then the angel lifted my hand and dropped their head and kissed my hand and left tears on it. I think now, looking back, that they were tears of empathy and knowledge and gratitude. I think they'd been scared I would say no. I know that I had a choice. Despite everything, I would do it again in an instant. Even knowing what I know, I would have my heart broken and my life tipped upside down. I was sure then. I'm still sure. The angel was gone. My hand was wet. My heart was full. My life was about to get very complicated. Suddenly my essay was no longer of any great concern. That night I dreamt. It was a vivid, realistic dream, and I can still remember both the images and the feelings. I dreamt of Joseph in a way that I had not until that night, in a way that made perfect sense and yet was completely new. Something was unlocked, and I woke sweating and buzzing and amazed. My body felt strong and different, but entirely mine, and I knew. I wept. And I laughed, and as dawn broke, a flight of cockatoos screamed over the house, and one broke off and landed on my windowsill. The morning light hit its crest, and it glowed like shining wattle. Its dark eye watched me. Then it cried a grating, "Good morning!" and took to the sky in pursuit of the flock. This is my story. It is true. People have said I am mad. Others make me into what I'm not. Some just believe me, and I'm still glad when that happens. God chose me to be Jesus' mother. I don't know why. I'm not even sure if it matters why. What matters is that a child came into the world and, as he grew, lit a fire that will never go out. A fire to which every living thing can come to escape darkness and to feel warmth. He died, and he rose again. He is my son, and I love him.